Well, Phil, what do we see here in the Civil War?
Well, Steve, if you stood here in 1642, 43, 44, 45, you would have looked over there and you would have seen Mount Edgecombe House is behind us. There would be the blockhouse, which is now inland, but it would have been on the foreshore then, which was built up in Victorian times. So the blockhouse at Mount Edgecombe is actually where the front was. If you'd looked over to the right, you'd see Devil's Point on the far corner. And if you'd have come over to the right of that, there's a mast. Do you see the mast going up there next to the green dome?
Yeah.
That would have been Mount Wise House, owned by Sir Thomas Wise, a house that was fortified during the Civil War by the parliamentarians. Then you came over, Firestone Bay. You've got the blockhouse there. That would have been an artillery tower, like Devil's Point, built during Henry VIII's time. You'd have swung over here towards Stonehouse. You would have seen a blockhouse on your left. And two more further up, Eastern Kings, yeah.
Now we're looking at Mill Bay, aren't we?
It wasn't called Eastern Kings then.
No?
No, it was called East Blockhouse and the West Blockhouse. So you had one either side.
Yeah.
Further up, you'd have Mount Durnford's, the Durnford's house up there,
And
up in Durnford Street.
A battery on Battery Hill, wasn't there?
That's further over.
Okay.
It wasn't. It was just called a fort in those days, but it was on the high ground further over.
So we're looking at West Hoe Mill now.
Towards West Hoe, there'd be another blockhouse there. Obviously, this was all came down. It just sloped down towards the sea, and there was another fort, another blockhouse further. Every so often, there was a blockhouse, and between these blockhouses, there were cannons mounted. And on the maps, it shows you wooden palisades, stone palisades, but these have all gone now. Most of them, like I said, in the Civil War, taken to be put into the forts on the north.
So really, the Hoe was quite well fortified.
It was, because there was always a threat from France and Spain, and we were like the Palmerston forts in the 1840s that went up in the 50s. We were paranoid at that time, and we spent a lot of money on defences that were rarely ever used, really. They went right around to where the Citadel stands now. There was another fort there built in 1592 by Robert Adams, the original Plymouth fort, which blocked the view of the castle that was in ruin, starting to fall into decay by this time. And you had Henry VIII's Tower by the Yacht Club over there, and then Fisher's Nose at the end. That was the last one at this side.
So there's a good, 10 or 12 maybe?
At least, yeah, 10 or 12. There were, like I said, there were East and West blockers. There were 3 up Stonehouse Creek recorded, but nothing left of those now unless you really dig down and find.
Have been manned 24 hours a day?
Not really, only at times of threats came up. There might have been soldiers, but not really. There was rarely any cannons in most of them. Really? The cannons were spaced out between.
Right,
and put on the top.
Were unarmed.
Yes.
But it was never put to test, was it?
No, it was never tested, these fortifications. They're still there to this day, which is a great asset for Plymouth, because any historian who's interested in that period, you can just walk around and you see, and they're still standing to this day. Limestone blockhouses, reinforced by granite.
I suppose the ones that you can see best are Fisher's Nose.
Fisher's Nose, the Firestone Bay.
Firestone Bay.
Devil's Point.
Devil's Point, yeah.
Yeah, and Henry VIII's Tower, which in the old days loomed up from the shore, but now it's below the wall. You can walk along the wall, along the Hoe, and you can look down, you can see the tower there.
So we're talking about the one
by the Corinthian.
Yeah. That was higher than the road level, do you reckon?
It was, yeah. Well, the road, there was not there. It just sloped down towards the sea.
But it was higher than it is now?
Oh yeah, much higher.
How high do you think it might have been, Phil?
Not much higher than it is now, but it looked higher because it came down.
Lower.
Yeah. The road didn't exist, and it just came down.
The ground level has come up.
Yeah, they built it up when they built the Citadel.
Yes.
But there are still parts of the old fort there you can see, actually, which would be a good subject to talk about one day.
And of course, if we looked across from here, all we would see would be green fields.
Yep, green grass.
Green grass.
Green grass? Is there any other? But yeah.
With a blockhouse here
and a blockhouse there, and some cannons along the foreshore here.
Yeah.
Not because Plymouth wasn't a big military base. You had the Plymouth Fort and Drake's Island and the blockhouses, and that's all really you had. There was a governor of Plymouth Fort, but it was only a small garrison at the time. Very important though, because we've had
based then
in the old Plymouth Fort.
Right.
The old fort that stood there. You had Ferdinand O'Gorgas was a great captain, governor of the fort and island, and you had Colonel Jacob Astley, who went on to become the last royalist army to surrender.
Now,
in
there's some
1640.
talk locally that when the citadel was built, the guns were placed facing inwards to subdue the population. should we rise against the king again? Could I have your observation on that, please, Phil?
If you look at maps of the old fort, Plymouth Fort, the cannons on that fort faced all ways as well, faced the town. So that was there in case the town actually fell, because Plymouth was destroyed by the French. Part of it, the old town, Britain side, at one stage. They burnt it, they got into the harbour, but since those days they put a chain across. And they put this fort there, so if the town fell, by perchance it fell again, and don't forget the Cornish Revolt, they burnt part of the town as well when they came up. The most important people in the town, the mayor and the councillors and the soldiers of the army, would be able to go into that fort and hold out until reinforcements arrived.
Right,
So
that's a
that's
story.
yeah. A lot of these forts were built with cannons all the way around.
Thank you very much for your time once again.
My pleasure.
Phil.
Thank you.